Hello guys, it's another beautiful day once again, and you're welcome back to my YouTube channel. And in this video, I'm going to tell you or to give you how you can use these supplements like azolla, maggots, and duckweed in your feeds. And because there is one of my subscribers who have been saying that he has a lot of complications in using this, and he was saying that it doesn't work for him. So I have to really give you an elaborate and how you have to use it and it works for you. Number one, we shall use azolla. We shall say about azolla. First, understand, if you doesn't know azolla, azolla is a plant that grows over the water, and it usually bleeds itself, and you have to just go and harvest it over the water. And it doesn't mean that when you're near to the lake, you're the only one who have access to azolla. Instead, you can also you can create a pond, and then you put some of the seedlings and start growing your own azolla. Why should azolla be fed to the chickens? Mostly we feed azolla to the chickens when we are targeting proteins which are inside azolla. And again, you have to understand that azolla should be fed when it is fresh to the chickens. There is no need to first dry azolla, so that you, after drying it, it's when you have to feed it to the chickens. So, and you have to understand that when you're starting to feed azolla to the chickens, you have to introduce it slowly. Like you have to introduce it slowly. Then, like after 14 days, when your chickens have been feeding on azolla, that is when you can start giving it 15% of azolla in your feeds. So this is only way how azolla will work for you. Only 15%. Don't exceed 15%, because you have the plenty of azolla and you want to cut a lot of cost in your chicken. So what you're going to do, you have to make sure that you give it 15%, and you have to make 15% after 14 days, when you have been gradually exposing your chickens to azolla. Then we have duckweed. They named it duckweed because it is the weed, or it is the grass or plant which wild ducks used to depend on for the protein when they were before being domesticated. And this duckweed has a protein of 20% to 40%, depending on the location, the nutrients available in the water where they are. Because they are also grown over the water. So duckweed have around 20 to 40%, as I told you, and it have 5% of crude fiber. So when feeding it to the chickens, you have to make sure that it's not like azolla. You have to first dry it. Then after drying duckweed, that's when you are able to include it in the feeds. After drying it, that's when you get to know that the azolla is really duckweed is working for you, because duckweed has the protein content which is equivalent to that of soybean when it is grown on the water that has enough and good minerals to sustain it. And then you have to make sure when you're feeding it after drying it, and you have to make sure that you can mix in the feeds up to 40%. But when I say 40% or 20%, it doesn't mean that you have to always put 40%, because remember, like when you're feeding maize to your chickens, we also recommend to include almost up to 60%. But 60%, you have to make sure that doesn't mean that. So it means that in 100 kgs of feeds, you can also include duckweed of 40 kilograms. But you should not go over that. Instead, you can go down. You can go below that percentage. So again, we have another one which is called maggots. Maggots is a larvae of the flies. So these larvae they are the ones we target to feed our protein. Why do we feed maggots, not other part of the fly? Because like adult flies, it is very hard to catch them, and they also represent low protein content than other than larvae. And also pupae, when you leave maggots to pupate and they become pupa, the pupas also have the less protein compared to maggots. So maggots, or these fly larvae, represent or have high levels of protein compared to all other stages of the fly. So they are the ones we target to feed our poultry and our animals at large. So when you want to feed larvae or the fly larvae, most of the farmers usually use black soldier fly to produce larvae because it is highly reproductive than other flies. But you can still do other you can still use other kinds of flies as long as you have access to them, So when you're feeding larvae to your chickens or maggots to your chickens, you have to make sure that you dry it. For me, I tell you, most of the farmers, I see them using the fresh larvae or the fresh maggots to feed their chickens. But according to me, you have to first dry it before including the percentages I'm going to tell it to you. Because larvae has 60% of the protein and has 20% of the crude fat, yet, and it also have 8.33% of ash. So it also has 3.37% of crude fiber when it is dry. When I say dry, it has to be 94% dry so that you are able to have that balance of the nutrients. And why do I recommend you drying the maggots and the duckweed? Remember, the feeds you're going to mix with, they are also dry, because you have to make sure that when you want to balance the nutrient profile of the chicken feeds or of other animal feeds, at least it have to be 80% dry, meaning that at least all the nutrients will be at optimal or will be at the same level when you are balancing them. Because when you use like maize which are not dry and use soybean that is well dry, that is not the feeds that you're mixing. You're just joking with the feeds of your chickens. So I recommend you have to make sure that you dry them well before you start constituting them to the feeds. So you may ask that now, how much maggots should I feed to my chickens? When you're fattening or when you have broilers and you want them to grow very faster, you have to make sure that you use 15, not above, but 15% in the what? In the feeds or in the rations of the feeds. And in layers, you have to use 10%. Then in growers or chicks, you have to use 70% of the maggots in the feeds. And let me say that maybe this content is so helpful to you and you have run a lot. So if you are still curious, or if you still have something you want me to answer for you, don't hesitate to put it in the comment box below. I'll be able to review. Maybe I'll be able to answer you, or I make another dedicated video for that. Thank you so much for watching my video, and see you again in the next episode. Thank you.